Who could have predicted that the young man who assisted me with setting up my new kitchen appliance would walk into my home, and I'd suddenly realize I'd left certain intimate belongings and some very private garments scattered on the sofa, let alone that everything would take a sharp turn after that very moment. I was quite solitary, yet when I went to pick up that food processor, courtesy of the gentleman at the retailer, I wouldn't remain solitary for long. Who could have foreseen that an inexperienced young fellow would cross my path and steer things in such an unforeseen direction? Allow me to recount the events from the very beginning. I'm approaching 60, divorced for about 15 years, and I've been dwelling alone for quite some time. Naturally, I had my personal indulgences and private possessions, items meant just for my own comfort. In fact, I utilized them so regularly that I didn't even register when I inadvertently left them openly visible in the center of my living space. Perhaps it was merely a routine, or perhaps it was my peculiar way of attempting to fill the void of loneliness. Regardless, that particular morning felt entirely ordinary. My sole intention was to acquire a food processor and continue with my day, but that young guy Leo altered everything when he proposed to help. The instant I unlatched the door and allowed him entrance, box in hand, I had no inkling that a typical day was on the verge of transforming into something truly remarkable. Leo appeared to be in his early 20s, vibrant, welcoming, and radiating energy as he stepped into my residence carrying the equipment. His gaze swept across every part of the area. That's when his focus settled on something specific. My intimate belongings and those personal pieces of clothing I'd left on the sofa. I was so accustomed to seeing them there that I hadn't even registered their presence. They simply appeared like the most commonplace items in the house to my eyes. Leo offered a faint smile as he advanced toward the living room and commented, "You live by yourself, don't you?" There was a hint of playful curiosity in his expression. My cheeks immediately became flushed. It occurred so abruptly and awkwardly that I was unsure how to handle the situation. Someone was only supposed to arrive and install the appliance, after all. I didn't typically share these private facets of my existence with anyone. My state of loneliness was intensely personal, and I never intended to project it onto another individual. "Leo, please. Let's pretend you didn't catch sight of any of that," I stated, my voice trembling slightly. It felt as though everything I desired had abruptly dissolved. Leo regarded me and simply smiled. "Whatever you prefer," he responded. "But you know, things like those aren't exactly simple to disregard. They tend to command attention, much like you do." That comment left me feeling even more flustered. I slowly averted my head and murmured, "Leo, please." With his characteristic warm and genuine demeanor, he continued, "It's completely natural to possess these kinds of items when you're living on your own," he remarked, his eyes now reflecting a different sort of illumination. "We all have our necessities, you know, but sometimes this kind of stuff just isn't quite sufficient, is it?" I could discern the subtle emphasis in his concluding words. It was as if he was trying to establish a connection with me, to extend an invitation in a manner that felt both audacious and gentle. Our eyes met for a duration of a few seconds, and in that precise moment, something began to ignite between us. A magnetic pull, an unspoken allure, a quiet intensity. I could sense Leo's attentive gaze upon me, and with each passing instant, we were drawing closer. Every utterance he made seemed to penetrate my very core, and that's when I recognized that what I was experiencing was distinctly different. Leo stated, "I noticed it the very first time you came in to get the appliance," a peculiar spark in his eyes. "You imparted a sensation I've never encountered before." I hesitated for a brief moment before responding. What words could I even articulate? My emotions were chaotic, but resisting this attraction felt nearly impossible. "You evoked a similar feeling in me," I admitted with a small smile. "Young man, otherwise, I would never have accepted your proposal to assist and invited you into my house." I uttered those words, yet internally, I was aware I felt something far deeper. Leo had somehow managed to get under my skin. His physique, his composure, his manner of speech, everything about him seemed so relaxed, so captivating. It was becoming progressively challenging to prevent my eyes from betraying the sentiments I held. There was a brief period of silence before I eventually announced, "I've been in these restrictive daytime clothes all day. They're quite stifling." I was trying to alleviate the tension. "I'm going to change into something more comfortable. Feel free to make yourself at home." Leo's gaze lingered upon me. I attempted to look away, even just for an instant, but I found I couldn't. I felt such a strong attraction to him, the distance between us diminishing with each passing second. Upstairs, I slipped into a sleek, form-fitting slip dress. I refreshed my makeup just slightly and proceeded toward the kitchen. But as I descended, I observed Leo positioned by the living room entrance. His eyes, whether deliberately or not, were fixed upon me. For a moment, I paused there, uncertain, allowing my thoughts to race uncontrolled. "All right," I mused to myself. "Young man, your intentions are quite clear. You're like hitting the jackpot for me, so let's proceed with this." I thought that silently, then acted as though I hadn't noticed him observing me and walked toward him. "Leo," I inquired in a playful tone, "are you unattached? Do you have a significant other, or do you spend your evenings alone?" As I looked at him, an internal spark intensified within me. We were so close now that every word, every gesture, every look seemed to carry a more profound significance. When I saw the eagerness and timid curiosity in his gaze, a smile subtly appeared on my face. "If you finish setting up the appliance, how about we brew some coffee?" I suggested, barely noticing the slight tremor in my voice. "And let's converse. You can share everything about yourself." As I moved closer to him, I felt a warmth accumulating inside me, every minor detail about him drawing me in. Leo seated himself on a chair, but he kept shifting, struggling to find comfort. I, on the other hand, took another step and positioned my chair directly beside his. As I slid it firmly beneath me, my skirt edged up just a fraction, only a few centimeters, but I was acutely aware of it. Leo's gaze ascended, halting just short of meeting mine. I could perceive his attentiveness, his genuine nature. I glanced at him, attempting to gauge this new proximity, and smiled, casually crossing my legs. I rested an arm on the back of my chair. "Were you getting impatient waiting for this?" I teased, aiming to introduce a playful element to the moment. But the tension between us quietly continued to escalate. Leo, appearing slightly flustered but never breaking eye contact, inquired, "How old are you?" His voice wavered subtly between surprise and admiration. "I thought you were in your 50s. A sparkle ignited in my eyes. Did he genuinely believe I was 50? That was intriguing and surprisingly flattering. I couldn't suppress a smile. "Do you favor 50-year-olds more?" I teased, raising an eyebrow as I studied him. Each word, each shared moment, pulled us closer together, fueled by the intensity of the situation. The look of surprise in his eyes indicated he seemed quite taken with me. "No, that's not precisely what I intended," he replied, a little shyly. "You appear so youthful and lovely." His words resonated in my mind, a warmth spreading through me, but concurrently, I felt a slight apprehension being this close. Now, taking another step felt significant. There was a pause between us. I took a deep breath and posed the question I was eager and a little nervous to hear the answer to. "Do you possess a significant other? Are you solitary? How do you occupy your evenings alone?" Leo lowered his voice, his eyes locking onto mine. "I am alone," he affirmed. In that instant, I truly believed he was unattached, but it conveyed a sense of solitude he didn't genuinely desire. We exchanged glances for a while, and I knew he could sense the intensity in my gaze. Something shifted internally within me as I waited. My feelings began to crystallize swiftly, and I understood I needed to initiate a move. "That's not how this evening is destined to unfold," I declared, my voice a little firmer, more resolute. My eyes drifted back to him, and every word I uttered carried weight. I knew in that very moment, everything was on the brink of transformation. "Leo, approach," I beckoned, my voice lower than usual, but undeniably more inviting. With my eyes, I gestured toward the area with the bed and turned without hesitation, confident he would follow. I heard his footsteps behind me, his breathing slightly more rapid now. When we entered the sleeping quarters, Leo paused near the entrance. His shoulders appeared somewhat tense, but his expression was focused, expectant. I turned to face him, and on his countenance, I observed a blend of reluctance and excitement. "Leo, are you prepared?" I inquired, my tone calm and steady. I stepped nearer and added with a small smile, "I possess experience, as you might gather. Relax. There's no need to be anxious." I placed my hand gently on his shoulder as I approached. Even that minor contact seemed to ease some of his tension, but it simultaneously amplified the excitement within him. In that moment, Leo's youthful vitality intersected with the confidence and decisiveness I had accumulated over the years. I slowly slid the straps of my outfit off my shoulders. The material caressed against my skin as it descended to the floor. I sensed Leo's gaze upon me. There was a mixture of awe, curiosity, and desire. Something stirred deep within me, but my expression remained composed. I moved closer to him, the silence between us almost forging a bond. My fingertips softly grazed his cheek, and then I patiently waited for him to make his move. Leo hesitated for merely a second, but finally he leaned toward me. I could feel the determination and eagerness in his gaze. His hands slowly settled on my waist, and his face drew closer to mine until his lips, at last, met mine. His kiss conveyed the bravery of youth and a trace of inexperience, but that very innocence only drew me in further. I gently withdrew and made my way toward the bed. I allowed myself to settle onto it with deliberate, unhurried motions. The cool surface against my skin caused a momentary shiver, intensifying the anticipation within me. I glanced over at Leo. He was still standing there, uncertain of what his next step should be. "Leo, approach," I requested, my voice soft but inviting. I traced my fingers across the bed, indicating the vacant spot beside me. "Recline. There is absolutely nothing to be apprehensive about." Leo slowly advanced closer and carefully lay down beside me. It was as though we were both holding our breaths, the air in the area feeling heavier with each passing second. I turned to him, placed my hand gently on his chest, and asked softly, "Have you ever contemplated this precise moment? Imagined it, Leo?" Leo maintained his gaze on me without wavering. "More than merely imagined it," he responded, his voice low and slightly unsteady, "but I never conceived it could truly materialize." In that instant, all our reservations were set aside. We were connecting, not solely with our physical forms, but with our emotional states as well. Neither of us knew where this was leading, but there was one truth I was absolutely certain of. The excitement I felt with Leo was a sensation I had been yearning for. Lying next to him, the thrill inside me transformed into a surge of courage. I sat up slightly at the edge of the bed, fixing my gaze on Leo as I slowly rose to my feet in front of him, leaning subtly toward him from the head of the bed. My eyes locked with his, capturing the mix of surprise and anticipation visible in his expression. "Leo," I stated, my voice soft but resolute, "tonight neither of us is alone." Leo swallowed hard, never averting his gaze. His silence indicated he comprehended the significance of my words. His hands were gripping the edge of the bed tightly, but his eyes had become bolder. Slowly, I leaned toward his face, holding his cheeks gently within my hands. "Let's simply immerse ourselves in this moment tonight," I whispered, bringing my lips nearer to his. "Don't question anything. Don't harbor any fear." Leo's breathing quickened, but he did not retreat, not even for a fraction of a second. In that moment, We were both escaping our respective loneliness, finding solace in each other's presence. Leo's breathing had accelerated. His eyes seemed to be attempting to absorb every detail of the experience, as if he wished to imprint it onto his memory. He hesitated briefly, then lifted his hands to my waist with a fusion of boldness and uncertainty. That initial reluctance melted into an intense desire. I couldn't regulate my own breathing either, but I could feel the profound gravity of the moment deep within me. "Leo," I whispered, as I gently caressed his face with my hands. This feeling is so immense, and it's exquisite." Leo didn't look away, replying in a voice that was deep yet trembling with warmth. I experienced the same. But isn't all of this unfolding so rapidly? This feeling I possess, it's so potent and it's incredibly beautiful. You can likely deduce I've never engaged in anything quite like this before. A smile spread across my face. I leaned in closer and placed a tender kiss on his forehead. "Leo, sometimes life is more fulfilling when you don't overanalyze. Simply embrace the moment and never cease," I offered with a reassuring tone. Leo paused for a moment, but then slid his hands slowly from my waist upward, drawing me nearer to him. As our breaths mingled and the distance between us vanished, I knew this instant could mark a pivotal turning point in our lives. It didn't require much time, and Leo, breathless and completely yielding, permitted himself to let go, precisely as I had advised him. He did not stop, and it felt incredible. As I lay beside him afterward, he appeared so content, as if he had finally released all his accumulated tension. Leo's strong arms were wrapped securely around me, holding me close. My head rested on his chest, where I could perceive the steady rhythm of his heart's pulse. The rhythmic sound was both comforting and strangely exhilarating. Without conscious thought, my fingers were gently tracing patterns across his chest. Leo took a deep breath and articulated in a low voice, "Diane, this sensation I'm experiencing right now, I've never felt so serene and at peace before." His voice conveyed a blend of honesty and surprise. I smiled, but didn't meet his gaze, still resting my head on his chest. "Truly?" I murmured. "Yes, truly," he continued, gently sliding one of his hands onto my back, drawing me closer. "All my life, I've been in pursuit of something. I never imagined I would pause to cherish a moment like this. But now, being here with you, it just makes everything feel worthwhile." His words warmed me from the inside out. While I lay there, listening to the consistent rhythm of his breaths, I replied, "Leo, just being with you makes me feel something I haven't felt in such a long time, something special." Leo ran his fingers through my hair, a soft smile playing on his lips. "I suppose we've mutually provided each other with precisely what we needed," he reflected thoughtfully. I lifted my head slightly to observe him. The honesty and relief on his face conveyed everything. "Then let's simply leave it at this," I proposed. "Let's savor this instant." Leo nodded slowly, agreeing without uttering a word. We simply remained there, intertwined, allowing the warmth of the moment to envelop us. Outside, the quiet and subdued light seemed to exist solely for us. Resting my head back on Leo's chest, I closed my eyes and permitted the peaceful moment to wash over me. That's when a thought gently surfaced in my mind. I began envisioning myself requesting him to remain here with me, to transform this dwelling, these quiet spaces and solitary nights, into something more animated with his presence. The prospect of incorporating him into my personal world made everything appear brighter, more complete. Of course, I had no certainty of where that might lead us, what kind of exciting days or deeper connections lay ahead. But one truth I held firmly: our narrative wasn't concluding here. This was merely the inception. So stay tuned if you've journeyed this far. I'm aware my story must have resonated deeply with you. There is significantly more to convey, and you won't want to overlook it. Hit that follow button, activate notifications, and don't forget to share your thoughts on this story in a comment. I eagerly anticipate hearing your perspectives, so let's engage in conversation below. Your encouragement means the world to me.